Hello everyone, greetings, good evening. Welcome to today's webinar from the wisdom of Autobiography of a Yogi. My name is Brahmachari Vineet and with us is Brahmachari Premdas. We'll begin today's evening with some chanting, we'll have a prayer, a brief meditation. We'll be selecting some quotes from the app which we have. If you don't have the app, it's a good time. Maybe you can check in the app. It's a very wonderful app where there are select quotes from Yogananda ji's book Autobiography of a Yogi. And what we usually do is select quotes a week before and a week after. So we discuss usually a couple of weeks quotes. But since we couldn't have our last week's webinar, which is 2 weeks before, so we'll be trying to cover the quotes from this month. So we have selected 2 to 3 quotes each and we'll be sharing. But before we get into the sharing, the satsang, let's do some chanting and some meditation. And if you're in a place where you can chant, and if you're in a place where you can't because of the outward circumstances, just chant inwardly and mentally, awakening the heart's devotion. And this first chant is named From Joy I Came, For Joy I Live, In Sacred Joy I Melt Again. These words, if you've read the book Autobiography of a Yogi, you may know are from the poem Samadhi. And let's, as we chant, Yogananda ji would say, first chant out loudly and then softer and softer, then whispering and then mentally. And just feel the power behind these words and feel that joy and feel that bliss in this chant and while doing this chant. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy Let us pray together, invoking the presence of the great masters. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, Saints of all religions, we humbly bow at Thy feet. We invoke Thy presence in this brief meditation and in our satsang today. Help and guide us to feel Your presence today and always. Om. The words to this chant are also from the poem Samadhi, and they are, I am the bubble, make me the sea. The words are very simple. You will get the words once you listen to it, if you don't know it yet. So do thou, my Lord, so do thou, my Lord, thou and I never apart, thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord, so do thou, my Lord, thou and I never apart, thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Make me the sea, oh make me the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord, so do thou, my Lord, thou and I never apart, thou and I never apart. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. Wave of the sea, dissolve in the sea. I am the bubble, make me the sea. Oh, I am the bubble, make me the sea. So do thou, my Lord, so do thou, my Lord. I am the bubble, make me the sea. Oh, I am the bubble, make me the sea.
Welcome again. So the chant now that I'm going to do is, I want only Thee, Lord, Thee only Thee. Please join along. Let's do one more chant. So this chant is Door of My Heart. Please follow along.
seeing thee, my Lord.
night and day, night and day. I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. When my days fly away, without seeing thee, my Lord. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee night and day. Now let's meditate for around 8 to 10 minutes. Let's keep our spine straight, shoulders back. Let's tense the whole body with a double breath. And relax once again. Release all the tensions. Try to consciously visualize and release the tensions from every part of the body. Let's practice Hong So, just focusing on your breath. And then let's also try to leave few minutes for sitting in silence in the last 3-4 minutes among this 8-10 minutes. Keep your attention at the spiritual eye. Om. 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 Greetings, Namaste. I'm Brahmachari Premdas, and here is with me Brahmachari Vineet, and we are very happy today to share with you the wisdom from the Autobiography of a Yogi app. So here we choose some quotes, like Vineet had earlier said, and the quote that I have chosen first is from March 6th. Let me read it for you. So if you haven't, I have this app on my phone. It's a very thing, it reminds me every day, it pops up in the early morning, so you'll get to find this wisdom. So it's March 6th. This is from Years in My Master's Hermitage. This is the longest chapter in Autobiography of a Yogi book, if you have read, and it has all the wisdom and the training and the years Master spent in his Guru's ashram, Paramahamsa Yogananda ji spent. So the quote is, "A man of realization does not perform any miracle until he receives an inward sanction. God does not wish the secrets of his creation revealed promiscuously." I'll read it again. "A man of realization does not perform any miracle until he receives an inward sanction. God does not wish the secrets of his creation be revealed promiscuously." So the first thing I'm remembering as I read out this quote is that the starting page of the Autobiography of a Yogi book, it says that except ye see miracles and wonders, ye will not believe. So it has been the trend, I think, even from previous masters. Sometimes masters perform these miracles, but again they have the consent of the God. So it also has its own place in the way of things, and there's a right time for everything. For example, these masters perform miracles only with the sanction of God. There are many such incidents from Paramahamsa Yogananda ji's life and our line of gurus where not even a single act is done without the consent of the God. And so I remember one story which I would like to share, which is in the Autobiography of a Yogi book. I think you have heard it again, but I'm repeating it for you. After Lahiri Mahashaya came back from Ranikhet, after visiting Babaji, his guru, in first time in this incarnation, he was assured by Babaji that whenever he wishes, whenever he calls out to Babaji, he'll appear in front of him. So Lahiri Mahashaya took this too deep, and once during his office discussion, he just thought that his friend should also, his colleague should know the value of this and should know the truths which they think are hidden in the Himalayas or which are so long lost. So what happens, he invites all of his friends one day, and during one of his discussions, so he says, "Do you believe in," so I'm paraphrasing now from the context, but he calls out to his friends and he says, "Do you believe in this, that a living master can materialize at will?" And there are such masters living even today, and then they don't believe, and he just goes inside the room, he meditates and calls out to Babaji. And then finally when his colleagues see this miracle, they are like astonished and shocked. So some of them are trying to try to touch Babaji and see whether this is true, and Babaji allows them to see this spectacle. And after this gets over, he says to Lahiri Mahashaya, "I'm not going to come again for curiosity seekers, but whenever you truly need, I'm going to appear before you." And also in this case, the good thing was, even though these colleagues were curiosity seekers, but after this incident, many of them became disciples and their life pattern itself changed. There was some good even in this sort of thing. So until except ye see wonders and miracles, ye will not believe. And so now I'll pass on now this microphone to Vineet.
Thank you, Premdas. And while Premdas was sharing this story about Babaji materializing when Lahiri Mahashaya prayed to him, and then he chastised him that, the next time from now I'll come only when you need. And somehow, very recently I went to Babaji's cave and I was reading through the passages, and it was just like he was sharing that it is something, the divine reveals only, it just doesn't show miracles, until the heart is ready to see. So, but there was some good even in that, and Lahiri Mahashaya ji was an avatar, and they must have had a divine plan to make this mistake. Who knows? This quote is from March 10th. It is from Sri Yukteswar ji. So you straighten your spines if you're not sitting straight. No, I'm just kidding. A new student occasionally expressed doubts regarding his own worthiness to engage in yoga practice. Forget the past, Sri Yukteswar would console him. The vanished lives of all men are dark with many shames. Human conduct is ever unreliable until anchored in the divine. Everything in the future will improve if you're making a spiritual effort now. Whenever I used to, not whenever, but most of the times when I used to read this quote, because it is a very popular quote from Yukteswar ji, and I've read it in so many places at different points of time. Of course, it is from the Autobiography of a Yogi, but different places, like forwards of messages or Facebook or something, and I will read here and I'll go, yeah, of course, forget the past, live in the present and do the right effort now. But somehow in my subconscious mind, when I was thinking of the past, I was thinking of some distant past, let's say past incarnation or something which I had done in my past incarnation, which I should forget. But the funny part is I don't remember my past incarnation, and I assume most of us who are seeing this don't remember our past incarnations. And Yukteswar ji, yes, he may be referring to our distant past if we are remembering to, but he is also referring, I think, to our recent past. And there have been times in my own life when I have found myself beating myself up mentally for a mistake which I had done very recently. Like, let's say I did something and I'm just thinking, oh, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done this was not right, that wasn't correct, oh no, and this thing just goes on and on. If only I would have acted that way, if only I would have acted this way. And I don't know, I think it comes to many sincere spiritual seekers that, this thing of, sometimes you can say guilt, that, oh, if I could have acted better. But the forget the past which Sri Yukteswar ji is referring to is also the past which you're thinking of right now, which happened, but you're still lingering there. And just forget the past. And we have made many mistakes, and the funny part is, the reason that we are here is that we have made mistakes, and we will keep making mistakes until we are one with the divine. And as there is a humorous story that, experienced seeker and a young seeker and a new seeker on the path, he asks, like, how the new seeker asks, or the young chap, he asks the experienced person that, how is it that you make such wise decisions, such wise choices? And, this experienced person says, by experience, you know things, how to do, how not to do, just by experience. And he said, but then how do you get these experiences? And he said, well, you make good choices in your life, and by making these good choices, you get an experience. You experience that this is the right thing to do. And he said, how do you make the good choices? And he says, well, by doing mistakes and making bad choices, committing errors. And we all do trial and error. Once, we are right now speaking to you from a monastery in Khandala, and sometimes we have our satsangs when we sit together and discuss, let's say, something which Swamiji said or which Master said, and one of the monks was referring to some particular spiritual attitude which we can develop, and he said, well, he gave some spiritual advice, and then at the end he said, and then try and make errors and learn for yourself. Because, we always learn by making some mistakes. So mistakes aren't bad, provided we learn from them. And also provided we don't keep making them over and over and over. So as Yukteswar ji says, forget the past. Just forget the past. If your mind goes there, just let it be. Just say, I am a child of the divine. If I make the right spiritual effort now, I can change things. Everything in the future will improve. And people sometimes wonder that, can I change my destiny? Is it possible to change my destiny? Well, we all know about karma and reincarnation to some extent, even though not exactly, because only a true master would know the exactness of karma. But how is our present decided? We say it's all karma, but our present has come because we had acted in some way in the past. Let's say if someone is rich today, is because he had done some good efforts, some hard work yesterday, but that yesterday was present at some given point of time. So similarly, in the future, which will be the present in the future, do the effort now and you will reap those spiritual efforts in the future. Your future, which will be tomorrow, will be the present tomorrow, and then you will be able to reap those benefits of good acts, of good karma. So just forget the past and act rightly in now. So can you change your destiny? Yes, do the right effort now, irrespective of what the circumstances are now. Like Yogananda ji would say that circumstances are always neutral. It's our reactions to them which make it in a good or bad way. And in this quote, Yukteswar ji also says, human conduct is ever unreliable until anchored in the divine. And it reminded me of a story from Swamiji's life, Swami Kriyanandaji's life, that at some point he met this man who was apparently showing him that he had a great need for finances or he needed some sort of help. And Swamiji gave him whatever he had, or a great amount from what he had. And this man said, please give me your address and what, I don't know what he exactly asked, but it was just like, tell me a way where I can give this back when I have. And the reason he gave was so that you don't lose faith in human nature or something along those lines. And Swamiji said that I would have lost faith if I had faith in the human nature long ago. It is that he trusted in the divine, that if he gave anything to anyone, it may not necessarily come from that exact person, but it will definitely come from the divine in some other way. And this thing exactly happened, something very similar to me, when I was just walking to a railway station, and there was this man who came up and he said, someone cheated me, I ended up over here, I need money, my family needs me, I'm just with my child and my wife, we don't have money, we are just stranded here, give us some money so that we can go to our hometown, we just came here believing someone. And I said, I wasn't sure, but I was in a hurry, I thought I might as well give him some money. And I gave him some money and he became greedy and he started, this is fine, but you see my wife is also there and my child, you see my child, he got his wife and his child. And I was like, okay, fine. And then he said some money for food. I just saw he was just getting greedier and greedier, but I didn't have this wisdom from Swami Kriyanandaji that human conduct, and from Yukteswarji that human conduct is ever unreliable. And I just said, no, get away. And the moment I said, no, fine, I had given him the money and I thought that was enough, I suddenly saw a group of his friends, young, very healthy, who could have just earned the money they had to earn, and there was no reason for him to say, I can't earn money because my family needs me right now. And I was like, oh no, I let that hurt be there for a long time. But then when I was reading this today, it somehow reminded of me, and I thought, yeah, it is true. I can't even trust myself. I can trust a divine person, a saint, an avatar like Yogananda ji. I can trust someone like Swamiji. Then I can trust my own self, because my own views, my own perceptions, they are just clouded. So let's try that, even when we deal with people, it is true. And Swamiji in this particular story, he also shares that, he didn't want to later think that this person, he did feel that this person was not genuine, but he didn't want this to be in his mind that, if it was genuine, if this person really needed help, I couldn't help him. He didn't want that thought to be in his mind, and rather he saw the divine in others. So similarly, when we go about our life, let's try to see the divine in human beings and not really the personality, the human qualities and everything, but just see that they are a child of God, maybe sometimes stuck in delusion, and who are we to judge anyways, but just that it is the divine acting, and maybe there is something for me to learn through them. That I'll pass it on to Premdas.
So now That was beautifully said. So now I'm going to go to March 8th now. There's a link between the March 6th quote I said and the March 8th quote. The link is that this words, whereas the footnote at the end of the March 6th quote. So it says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Let's see. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before the swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Okay, let me just look into these words. For example, the dogs during that time were not considered so protective. So this is not meant in that sense. So any dog lovers, don't take it offense here. So, and even the swine here meanings mostly the pigs or the ones who are more in the drainage sort of thing. So if you give them the pearls, they're not going to know the value of it. And this is from Matthew 7:6 it says. So I was just curious, what is this thing? And yesterday, I just started using Google, who is like the search engine which we can help us in so many ways. And I understood that this is from Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, 6th verse. So I was curious, now what are these Gospels? Then I realized I did some more searching, and then I found out there are like 4 Gospels in the New Testament now. Saint Matthew was one of the 4 evangelists. Like there are 4 Gospels which were written by 4 evangelists, and now also Saint Matthew is one of the 12 apostles who were the primary devotees of Jesus. Okay, now saying that, now we come back to the quote. So in the beginning of my spiritual journey, when I discovered this truth, so this all the secrets, I'll say, because I was so inspired, then I thought that whenever you see a good movie, what do? You tell your friends to watch it. So now I came to know from this book about this organization Ananda, where they teach Kriya Yoga, and I learned Kriya Yoga there after going for a few months. Then I thought maybe my friends, all my good friends and best friends who had spent my time all doing all fun things in college, I thought they should know this. So I brought them one day to our center in Bangalore. So he was a good person. Then he came to the center. Then he started. He had his curiosity things. He started asking Haridas ji, what is that? What is this? He had all his doubts answered. Then finally he left. So after this session, then when me and Haridas ji were alone, Haridas ji said, generally I try to help people who are like, if there is an ocean and who are just above the ocean, I try to help or give help when they ask for it, not to someone deep inside. I'm just paraphrasing here again. But what I really understood from this was, so many times we need to help when somebody is needing it, and when somebody is near the ocean and really feeling the need for the breath. Otherwise, if they are happily inside the ocean, they may not really need this. And there's also a right time for everything. For example, one of the classic examples that came to my mind was, for example, it can also turn negative now. Whenever you give somebody a help when they're not needed. For example, if there's your younger brother who is studying in class 6th grade and you are already pass out from engineering or something. You're graduated this thing, and you just come to him and you show your calculus thing and you say, see, do you know what calculus is? Do you understand this? And he's like scratching his head. Oh God, what is he saying? And he says, don't you understand this? This is the most awesome thing. And he's still like, he loses all his interest. And maybe when he comes to 12th grade and the calculus subject opens, all his memories come back. And he thinks, not again. And maybe he would have learned with more enthusiasm the calculus, but because of this incident, his enthusiasm went down. So this could be one of the negative things. And also there's one more side of the coin. For example, when you yourself are not strong, and if I'm not strong and I go and explain this teachings to a curious friend, and curious friend comes up with so much philosophical doubts that sometimes they can even doubt your things. What did I understand thinking of that? So unless you are really firm on the path, don't try to give away these pearls. Sometimes they can just attack you and then you will be down. Saying this, I'll just pass on to Vineet.
This quote was just so relevant, which Premdas shared, because I think it's something for most people on the spiritual path as they begin, the enthusiasm is to share. But you have to just see the timing, because when he was sharing the story, I was just like, yes, I have been through the same thing. And it's just, we just learn to get stronger, and also we learn to share appropriately with people, in terms of, for a person who's seeking help, instead of saying, oh, you need to meditate and do this, but instead give them the first step. Maybe we say them, oh, the exercises can help you, the energization exercises. And when they take it and they feel a little ready, then we probably hint them that, maybe meditation, because sometimes in enthusiasm, like Premdas said, it can turn negative. And when he said calculus, I was like, yes, 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 I never liked calculus. So now the quote from March 5th. Those who are too good, this again is from Sri Yukteswarji. Those who are too good for this world are adorning some other. So long as you breathe the free air of earth, you are under obligation to render grateful service. He alone who has fully mastered the breathless state is freed from cosmic imperatives. So, those who are too good for this world are adorning some other. And I was just thinking of, there have been times where I have just been thinking, oh, the world should be this way, this isn't perfect, that could be improved, this could be improved. And then there was a time when I read this quote and I was like, oh, which world was I adorning? And it just boils down to the point where, we are expecting things to be otherwise than what they really are. And on the spiritual path, what we are really trying to do is just to see things as they are and accept them as they are. And it is not being passive. In other words, it's not being like, okay, fine, this is hopeless and this is how it is. We do act. If we see a situation where it is our dharma, it is the right thing to do, to act, then we do act. But then it doesn't, I'm getting some feedback, Ramesh. And it isn't about just like, I'm sorry, I was just getting a feedback, so I just mentioned, I was hearing my own voice. So anyways, it isn't that we become passive and we say, no, this is the way things are. That is the other extreme. We do act. We act in the right way, in whatever way we can. And then, like Yukteswarji says, those who are breathing the free air of earth, so long as you breathe the free air of earth, you are under obligation to render grateful service. And when I came to the spiritual path, it was just like, oh, this is it. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. I was even, having my plans of, just leaving, because it's all Maya after all. And why get engaged into Maya? And I was really seriously considering that I can even drop my studies maybe, because, it's after all studies and they're not very spiritual. And how can any study be as important as getting to Samadhi? But Divine Mother had her fun with me, and I understood over time that, if we are in a state of bliss and we can say we are in bliss every time, then fine, then we can say it is all Maya. But if we are in the midst of it and we can quote all kinds of things from the Gita and the Upanishads and everything. For example, sometimes there is this thing, action in action, action in inaction, and inaction in action. And it might sound like, oh, yes, 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 of course, I don't have to act. I can just feel the action. I can just visualize this happening. But then, when Maya comes and hits you, you just feel like, oh, okay, are you able to quote those same things and feel the same bliss? When you were quoting this, when, there's a difference between armchair philosophy and really knowing things and realizing them. So, so long as you breathe the free air of earth, we are bound, and plus it's our duty to render grateful service. And we may remember this story from Yogananda ji's life, that when he had this experience of Samadhi, the next thing Sri Yukteswarji had him do was have a broomstick and clean the floor. And this is something which he said. Why? Because, and remember one thing, friends, that, and we all should remember that it is also our duty to share that experience which we have with others. Yogananda ji would say that we are not free completely until we bring, I think the number is 6, until we bring 6 others and free them, or at least bring them firmly on the spiritual path. And there is also a story where there were these, I think it happened in the Bengal area or something, where the king had a dry lake being dug, or some area which was being dug. And when they were digging, in the process of digging, this is an old story, but it happened around Master's father's time at least. And when they were digging, they suddenly found that there were these yogis who were buried underground, and they were alive of all things. And the king had all things happen to them, like, to get them out of whatever state they were in, like poke needles and do various things, and hot coal, I don't know, but very, very, you can say, not so refined ways. And then finally, when they came back, and they were very furious with this king, and they even cursed him that, for this act of yours, we were in a deep state and very close to being fully liberated, but because you brought us back here, your entire family will be cursed. And very soon the whole family of the king had to die. But I think Swamiji shares in this context that they had to come back in some way or the other. They had to come back in some way or the other. Why? Because they were selfishly trying to get all the divine for themselves. And that is not how the divine works. We are, as much as we receive, we also have to share it with others. And share how? It need not necessarily be in terms like Premdas was sharing, he tried to share it with his friends. No, it need not necessarily be, telling them, but just sometimes praying for people. Sometimes if you're in a workplace, just, your calmness can be a blessing for other people. Sometimes it can just be, there was a time where I remembered an experience I had when I went to my office one morning, and there was this friend of mine, and he was just going through a very irritating time because the office scenario was such. And it was my practice, before I start my day, I would read a quote from one of Swamiji's books or Master's book. And I was reading something, and I was just quiet. I would reach 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before to the office. And he looked at me and he was like, "How can you be so calm?" And I thought, oh, this is now the right time. All these days I didn't share, like Premdas said, because I had had enough experience. And I said, I meditate and then do these things. And this friend later on his own accord, came, meditated, learned some exercises and started doing these practices. Maybe he wasn't fully into them, but at least he learned some meditation. So it can be a service of being example to someone, and not like, I am an example, look at me, I've been meditating. No, it can just be a natural thing. We don't have to really even we don't even have to say, it just automatically gets shared. So with that, I'll pass it on to Premdas.
And so the next quote which I've chosen is from March 22nd, which is today. Yeah. So the quote is, it's about the feminine and masculine aspect within us. So in sleep, you do not know whether you are a man or woman. Just as a man impersonating a woman does not become one, so the soul impersonating both man and woman has no sex. The soul is pure, changeless image of God. So I'm looking at more deeper aspect of this, saying that in true, we are all part of this consciousness. There is this causal body of thoughts, then comes the astral body of energy, then we are this body of matter. This is the way we have come down. And even then, some incarnations we might be born as a man, some incarnations we might be born as a woman. And but there is always a balance to it. For example, we'll have to learn before we become that perfect thing, how to balance both this masculine and feminine characteristics within ourselves. For example, masculine characteristic is more reason and will based, and feminine is heart based and feeling based. So unless you see any particular person not having this balance, you just know that they're not yet perfect, and you can't reach many heights. Sometimes, yeah, in the business heights you could reach, but in the spiritual heights, if you have to become one with God, you'll have to reach this consciousness. And I'm also wanting to give an example now. For example of Anandmayi Ma. They used to tell that when she used to walk, they used to feel that she was like a general when she used to walk. And for example of Master, when you see all his photos, you see so much motherly love and affection there. So that's where it is. So let's all try to have this both qualities within us. And saying this, thank you for joining us. And yeah, we'll have this fortnight discussion again. And yeah, Om Guru, thank you from all of the monastery.